Get myself in here. Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. NFL, Major League Baseball, Little League World Series, maybe some NBA. Who knows? We got lots to talk about. Jack Hirsch, my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer, Michael Spink's biographer. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Keith.
Good to have you with us as always. And you know, we feel
I'm glad you can be here as well.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here as well. I keep hitting wrong buttons, and who knows how long I'll stay. So, you know, it feels like we're in this slow buildup to the NFL season, Major League Baseball playoffs, and it's like we talked about it last Friday. I think there's kind of a lull, but not a lull. There's still a lot of news, and we'll start in the NFL. The big news, I think, coming out of week 2, and I think you agree, the preseason is the fact that the Browns, among other teams, and we'll get into some of those, have big decisions to make at quarterback specifically. And Deshaun Watson has not made it easy for Todd Monken. I think Todd Monken wants to make Deshaun Watson the starter, but his play, and even outside of his play, his comments about the fans booing him, mercifully, I can't say the word, booing him tremendously last Saturday do not help. Him saying it's not about play. We all know what it's about. Well, you know, Deshaun Watson has brought a lot of this on himself, both with his play and his lack of accountability for his past actions. What are your thoughts, Jack?
My thoughts are that these quarterback competitions a lot of times never end. Obviously, there's got to be a finishing point where you name a starter. But what's changed from the beginning of training camp for Watson and Sanders? Neither guy has fully distinguished himself. That's why I'm a big believer. Name your starter beforehand, but name him under the condition he might not hold on to the job long. If he doesn't play well enough to merit being the starter, he's got guys behind him who are ready to step in, who are ready to play. Nothing the matter with that. That's enough to keep you on your toes. Deshaun Watson didn't do himself any favors, whether he's right or wrong with what he said. The booing, is it personal with him? Maybe a little more so than another player. But the bottom line is he hasn't played well in the exhibition season. And I realize for the most part, these exhibition games don't count. They don't mean anything. But certain individual performances do. You want the report to come out after the game. Well, you played well. It keeps people quiet for the time being. If you have a good performance, and Deshaun Watson was flat in the preseason, his last preseason game, they booed. He just should have accepted the booing, been quiet about it, been humble, and saying, look, I'll be better during the regular season. I know I have to be better than this. I don't blame him for booing. I was even booing myself. That would have put an end to all of it. But instead, he takes on the fans, Keith. Anytime a player takes on the fans, the player is going to lose. He's going to lose. And Deshaun Watson dug himself an even bigger hole now, because he even forced his coach, Todd Monken, to address the situation by saying it's not going to affect his decision who the starter is. And it's a decision, I believe, is going to come down today, right?
He's supposed to make a decision today on his starting quarterback, yes.
And what's your prediction? Who's he going to name as the starter?
I really believe he wants to name Deshaun Watson, but I don't think he will. I think he says this won't impact his decision. I think it will. And the play should impact the decision anyway. Shadur Sanders outplayed him, at least this last game. I understand, you know, it's a bunch of second and third stringers anyway. But he outplayed him. And plus, I do think this will come into play. And maybe it should. My problem with Deshaun Watson, I have a lot of problems with Deshaun Watson, obviously, is well documented if you've watched me.
Yeah, okay.
Wait a minute. And I got thinking about it yesterday after I went off again on Deshaun Watson yesterday morning. My biggest problem with him is his lack of accountability. He's never once said, I did anything wrong, whether it was the sexual misconduct allegations. No remorse there at all. No addressing of that. his lack of accountability for his play, not just now, but during his entire Browns tenure, pretty much. I mean, he had some spurts here and there where he played well before he got hurt, but not well enough to justify his contract or remove the stain of his off the field actions. And you said this before, Jack. If he played well, the fans would cheer him because that's what fans do. They won't boo him. If they thought he had a chance to lead him to a Super Bowl, fans would get behind him and cheer him.
Oh, absolutely. As far as accountability, saying he did something wrong, you don't know what his attorneys have told him because other women do come out of the woodwork. Even years later, I wouldn't be surprised if all these years later, another woman stepped forward and put in a claim against him at this point. And
I would think there's a way to do it generally, though, Jack, right? Just say, I know I've made some mistakes in my life. I need to do better. That doesn't really leave you open to
But outside of that one widespread incident, Deshaun Watson hasn't had any incidents that we know of. We got to keep that in mind. It was bad what went on. It was embarrassing.
That's not one incident, though, Jack. It's not one.
Look, he suffered a lot of it's under the same context is what I'm saying. Kind of the same like with Michael Vick. It was a terrible situation, but outside of that particular situation, there haven't been any other situations in his lifetime that we know about. That's what I mean. But I kind of feel Todd Monken is going to announce that Shedeur Sanders is the starter because
I do too.
Why bring it up that Watson's comment isn't going to impact his decision? That means it is probably going to get impacted. But if I'm the head coach of Cleveland, what do? I probably start Deshaun Watson. And the reason I do it, not so much because I'm in Deshaun Watson's corner, because I want to give Shedeur Sanders a little more time to ease into the role, to be given every opportunity to show he's a quality starter. Now, you could do it from game one. They don't have a good team, Cleveland.
No.
He played 7 games last year. It didn't make Shedeur Sanders the starter. He was basically a Band-Aid for a terrible offense last year. Let him come in a pressure-free situation, Shedeur Sanders, 2, 3, 4 games into the season. If Watson isn't performing, and the expectations aren't going to be as high for Shedeur Sanders, he'll be given more rope. He'll be given more of a chance to grow. That's what I mean. So I would be looking at what I could do to help Shedeur Sanders. If by some chance it start Watson and they win and they have a good year, now there's going to be a dilemma. But the bottom line is this. Cleveland's not going to have a good team this year. They're going to be in a great position to draft a quarterback next season. And is it going to be Sanders, meaning they won't draft a quarterback? Or if it's not Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, whatever on that roster, it'll be someone else coming out of college. Maybe one of the elite quarterbacks, like an Arch Manning, will even be there for Cleveland.
Yeah, and Danny, I'll address this in just a second, but I want to go back. I want to stay on Deshaun Watson for a second. And Rick, I keep saying his name because we got to talk about him this much. I can't just keep avoiding his name because at one point I did say I'll never say his name again. Here's the thing. I do think Sanders should play. We talked about it last week. There's no future for Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, whether he starts this year or not. They're not going to re-sign him. I don't know if anybody's going to re-sign him. So you get a jump start on your future and find out what you have in Sanders or even Gabriel. The question I'm going to have is, let's just assume Sanders does get the nod today, which it kind of looks like. I agree. I think Monken is greasing the skids for his decision by saying the statement didn't have anything to do with it. If you name Sanders a starter today, should you really keep Deshaun Sanders around at all?
Deshaun Watson. No, wait. There's always a possibility Cleveland could resign Watson next season if he has a big year. I'm going to tell you why. No other team is going to step forward and offer Watson a big contract, no matter what type of season he has this year. No one's going to be that foolish. But I can see a scenario where if Watson has a great year this year, then next year he could come back maybe in a 1 year, $20 million contract, which is low for quarterbacks. I can see something like that, perhaps unfolding, but that'd have to be a complete turnaround as far as his, the fan base went. And if you play well, people forget. It's unfortunate in a sense, and in another sense, it is fortunate. It gives a guy a second chance who's already paid the price for what he did.
Has he paid a price? He has, again, no accountability, nothing. What is he paid, really? What is he paid? He got paid a big contract from Cleveland. What did he really pay?
Well, when you hear his name, what do you think?
Well, yeah, is that a price?
Reputational damage. He's taken off a lot.
Yes, I get that, but that's not that's necessarily a price, and you also brought that on yourself. So
he's human. He's human. This stuff has to have bothered him an awful lot. Just the idea he mentioned it at the press conference, he has it kind of hanging over his head, and it's not easy when you're an elite quarterback. I have been an elite quarterback in the league, and now you're injured. And you're basically with the scrub team. You feel you're playing with the backups, practicing with backups at times.
Let's address this from the Michael Vick comparison, right? Yesterday we were comparing, I think, Vick a little bit, Bill Cosby a little bit. Bill Cosby to me paid a huge price. That's a price. Now that's a price. Bill Cosby paid a price. He lost a lot of his fortune. Not that he's not still rich. He went to prison. He lost every ounce of his reputation. Similar, probably worse than Deshaun Watson. And rightfully so. Michael Vick did pay a price, I think.
He went to prison, didn't he?
He went to prison, and again, he lost out on big contracts.
Let me tell you something. Listen, hear me out, Danny. I was talking within the context, saying outside of the horrendous situation that Michael Vick was in, that he brought upon himself, that you could even say he initiated. Use any language you want. Michael Vick did not have any other known issues besides that. And let me go a step further. Roger Goodell, after that incident, he hired Michael Vick in a certain position. And he said, Roger Goodell, Michael Vick is a very good person. That's what Roger Goodell said after, the NFL commissioner. And Michael Vick now has a head coaching job in college. I mean, what should we do with Michael Vick? Just, throw him in the trash can, basically, and say we're not allowing you to get on with your life?
And as far as the comment, Danny, I get what you're saying.
What Michael Vick was involved with, and he acknowledges all that. Michael Vick acknowledges how awful it was, everything he was involved with.
One reason I'll give him a little bit more leash. That's probably a bad. That's probably a bad use of language, but I didn't do that purposely.
No.
Is the fact that he took accountability for his actions. I mean, at least he spoke up and said, "Man, what I did was not good."
You're right. You're right. But
that's what a man does.
There's a difference in foul. Michael Vick's situation with the dogs is done with. It's not going to, no new information is going to resurface in regard to that. But with Deshaun Watson, as I said earlier, there are legalities. You could have another woman come out of the woodwork now and claim he did this or that. It could be completely bogus, 100%. But all you need is one woman to come out and speak up against Deshaun Watson now again over what went on years ago, and the whole thing resurfaces once again. It becomes news, and it just makes him look terrible.
There's a way to make an announcement generically to kind of cover the mistakes he's made in his life, at least acknowledging he hasn't lived.
I believe he did.
I don't believe. No, he never took any accountability, never showed any remorse or anything. Nothing. And the arbiter said that when this went to arbitration, independent arbitrator said that his lack of remorse was disturbing. So, I don't have any issue with him I do have a lot of issues with him. I should say.
But the bottom line is the commissioner's office, NFL, they never suspended Deshaun Watson. Okay, I can understand the point. There were no criminal charges. Sometimes we feel someone is flat out guilty. Okay, whatever. But there weren't even charges brought against Watson. And the NFL office still had the power to suspend them. Okay?
Yeah, and I think
they never suspended Deshaun Watson.
Well,
I mean,
again, that's no
and what
penalty.
Listen, it was bad what happened. He paid millions and millions of dollars.
Where? Well, in his own defense, yeah. But again, he also got a huge contract in the middle of it. So where did he
Cleveland
pay?
took a gamble, and the reason Cleveland gave him the huge contract when he had all that turmoil and his situation was uncertain, because he was a great quarterback at the time. And it's like we say on this show, if it's a backup player, a marginal player, he gets cut. He never gets another chance to play again in the NFL. But if it's a star player, if it's especially a star quarterback, if you take the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, they're always going to find their way back into a prominent role, in the league, and they're going to get a big contract still.
I always use Ray Lewis as my, barometer. The guy was involved. However you want to look at it, he was involved in the murder of 2 people, and he was back playing the next season. So, if you can play and you're a star, you're going to play. Let me address one more thing on the Michael Vick thing before I forget, because I think Danny's comment about the endorsement on this show, and it wasn't on this show. Back in the day, if you remember when Mac was still with us, he'd gotten some advertisers, and one of them was a betting site, and Michael Vick was a spokesman for it. And I did play the ad a few times on my shows, and after Danny spoke up, I kind of gave it some thought, and I stopped playing it because Michael Vick was the voice and the face of that site. So I stopped playing it. But
no, let me tell you something. And we're very fond of Danny. Danny's not only a good guy, he's a knowledgeable guy. But consider this. If Michael Vick were playing today, and he was in a big NFL playoff game for the, let's say, NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, do you think Danny would boycott the game? No way. He would be watching the game still. He wouldn't say, I'm not watching this game out of principle. I'm not watching this game because Michael Vick is playing.
Well, I wouldn't do it either, quite frankly. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't watch the game?
No, I wouldn't not watch the game. I would watch the game.
Exactly. See, you can't have it all ways. You can't.
And I'll let Danny speak for himself. I'm not going to speak for Danny.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for him. If he was playing for your team, you certainly would watch the game, right?
Hey,
100%.
Listen, I don't know how exactly you feel about Ray Lewis, and that everyone, so be it. But believe me, if your team could get Ray Lewis in his prime, if Ray Lewis were young and he was going to sign with the New England Patriots, you'd be salivating what it would do for your defense. You would be cheering him on Sundays. Come on, let's be honest about it.
I would do it, and I'd feel dirty doing it, quite frankly. I would not be happy if my team signed Ray Lewis. I'd be very frank with you. I would not. I wasn't crazy when they signed Stephon Diggs. Did I cheer for him afterwards? Sure, I did. I want my team to win, right? So to your point, at that point, I want my team to win, but I can still be against that signing.
But your feelings would kind of lessen towards him. If he was on your team, if he was a team player, he was conducting himself a certain way, but whatever.
Rick's picking up for somebody else who doesn't follow the show anymore.
Exactly, Rick. Good one, Rick.
Rick, I'll let you
right. We got to move on from this. You get a little carried away, Keith. You get too emotional.
When I get passionate about something,
let's Rick. Good one, Rick. Let's move on.
One last comment about my fixation on things like this. When it comes to abuse of women, I have zero tolerance for people, and I get very passionate. So I've lost friends over similar situations, not sexual abuse, but physical abuse. Anyway, we will move on. The NFL, we had there's other things going on. We've got a quarterback battle in Atlanta where Michael Penix is finally healthy enough to join that battle. That's more of a battle of attrition, I would say. We got a semi battle in in Las Vegas. I don't know where they stand there.
We don't have a quarterback battle in Las Vegas. Kirk Cousins is going to start the season.
We don't know that's a fact. He hasn't played that great.
I mean, he's going to start.
He should. Season. I think he should. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. Let's take it one team at a time. In Atlanta, you know how the quarterback battle is going to get settled between Tua and Penix. Whoever gets hurt first, the other guy gets the job. I mean, that's basically.
That's a fair answer, Danny.
I think Tua is going to be named the starter, and Penix will come in soon after, or maybe early in the season if Tua struggles. But it's a mess in Atlanta because I can't see Tua being their quarterback of the future, and I can't see Penix. And this is it for Penix. They might still consider him their quarterback of the future if he could be healthy, if he could play well this year. But I think this is it for Penix. If he doesn't establish himself as the Falcons starter this year going forward, I don't think by next season that's going to be in play. I think the Falcons are going to have in their head to move on. You know, how high these teams are going to draft is going to play into it because it's going to be a top-heavy college quarterback class coming out in the next draft. And
we think today, again, last year we thought the same thing and it ended up being a very weak draft. So, but as we look at it today, there could be 6 quarterbacks in the first round next year. So it'll be a lot of quarterbacks. Four of them off the top of my head. Don't mention one of them. Jeez.
No. I'm going to mention my guy last, but Manning, Dante Moore, CJ Carr. Of course, I'll mention my guy Trinidad Chambliss. And a couple of others. So this kind of next year's college draft reminds me of the one where you had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, who didn't quite work out, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. And the one more recent where Bo Nix was the last guy taken in the top-heavy draft. After Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, company.
And next year might be a great year to wait a couple rounds and not take a guy in the first round because it's going to be guys you can get later that are going to be good as well, at least as we see it today. Because
quarterbacks?
Yeah. I mean, again, you can find a franchise quarterback probably in the second or third round this year. You don't have to waste a high first round draft pick.
I'm not. If you have a few of the elite guys coming out, you want to grab them early.
I'll remind you and everybody else, in 1983 is the best quarterback draft in history, right?
Yeah.
One guy won a Super Bowl. One guy. I know what. The only guy in that draft who won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but it's a team game. So you're going to tell me a team should bypass the Dan Marino, who was in that 83 draft. He didn't win a Super Bowl because you could pick late in the draft. That's kind of insanity.
It's not. I mean, again, everybody's going to reach for the guy they think will be their franchise quarterback. But I'm telling you, you don't need to do that to win Super Bowls. You don't have to.
You do need to do that to win Super Bowls. You need your franchise quarterback. I mean, you need a quarterback. How do I put it? You need a quarterback that's very good who can get you there. Once in a while, you have an aberration. You have an aberration in anything. That's why we have to hear this nonsense once in a while.
The aberration is a guy who wins a Super Bowl.
Well, the Ravens won a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. Well, they have maybe the greatest defense in NFL history, arguably.
I'll say you again, the aberration is the guy who gets drafted in the first round and wins a Super Bowl. That's the aberration. That's what you don't seem to get. 8% of the quarterbacks that have been drafted since the common draft in 1967 have won a Super Bowl. 8%. That's an aberration, not the other way around. And again, they reach. I get it.
You're talking about the first round?
Every first round pick. All first round picks.
No, that's inaccurate what you're saying.
It's accurate.
Just look traditionally at a number of these Super Bowl teams off the top of your head and see where they were drafted. Look, even last year, Sam Darnold, he was the 3rd overall pick when he came out of the draft, and he won a Super Bowl. Okay? I mean,
listen, you can't just look at Super Bowls, Jack. You have to look at all the quarterbacks picked. It's not just the guys who won the Super Bowls. Yes, most. And by
but
the way,
only one team can win a Super Bowl.
Jack, it doesn't matter. You still reach for a quarterback and never won the ultimate game. And again, even to your argument about, I think it's only 50% of the quarterbacks that won Super Bowls were first-round draft picks. I'm telling you.
I can go over the list in recent times.
I'm going to do it right now if I can.
The Chiefs went on their run. Patrick Mahomes, a first-round pick.
How many Super Bowls have there been?
Eagles traded up to get Jalen Hurts to make him a higher pick, first-round pick.
I can't do the math. What do we got?
First-round pick. Look at all these
Super Bowls. 60 Super Bowls. We'll do it real quick. Sam Darnold is one. Mahomes is two. Jalen Hurts is not first-round pick. Second-round pick.
Multiple Super Bowls.
Doesn't matter. I'm just looking at winners of Super Bowls.
Well, Tom Brady with his 7 Super Bowl wins,
Tom Brady
kind of shakes things up.
Nick Foles. Let me keep going. Nick Foles. Russell Wilson.
Oh, wait. No.
Yes. Nick
Carson Wentz was the starter on that team.
No, he started the Super Bowl and won.
Nick Foles played in the Super Bowl game.
Nick Foles won the Super Bowl.
No.
He won all the playoff games.
He won with the Giants.
He won all the Super Bowls.
Starter. Phil Simms was the starter
for 10 games.
Played in the Super Bowl
No.
game.
Now you're trying to change the whole formula.
You're fudging the data, Keith.
It's not. No, you are. You are. Bruner played the last 6 games of the regular season in every playoff game. You can't say Phil Simms was a quarterback on that team.
Phil Simms got them off to a 10-0 start that season.
It doesn't matter. He didn't win the Super Bowl. Neither did Carson Wentz.
He was injured before the playoffs. They got him there the way Carson Wentz helped get the Eagles there. And they were first-round picks.
You can have that argument. Let me finish this, and then we'll have that argument later if you want. So Flacco is, Manning is, Rodgers is. Drew Brees, not a first-round pick.
Drew Brees is hanging on the board of the first-round pick.
Brad Johnson, not a first-round pick. Trent Dilfer, not a first-round pick. Kurt Warner, not a first-round pick. Brett Favre, not a first-round pick. That's 9.
Wait.
Hold on. I'm not done. Mark Rippon, 10. Jeff Hostetler, 11. Let me get through this. 11. Jim McMahon was. Jim Plunkett was. He was. Stabler, not a first-round pick. That's 12.
Where were they drafted, Keith? Wait. Where were they drafted? Did you think not a first-round pick?
Second-round pick. He was a second-round pick, Ken Stabler, I think. Len Dawson, not a first-round pick. All right. So I got 12. Again, now if we lower it to the guys who won multiple ones, I've got half of the games have been won by guys who weren't drafted in the first round. Just saying. Michael Abrams, good morning. Been a long time. Good to have you back.
Hey,
anyway, we'll dive more into that at a later date. But again, I have this argument all the time. I don't disagree that first-round quarterbacks win the majority of the Super Bowls. But I just gave you 12 off the top of my head. I might have missed one or two going really quick. So, and again, some of those second-round picks. By the way, Brady also moves it more in my favor because he won.
Brady takes up a big chunk.
That's why the number gets
Super Bowls and winning 7. That takes up a big chunk.
That's why the number gets to like half.
Percentage, yeah.
That's right. That's why the number gets to almost half. Yes. So anyway, I'm just my argument is valid. I'm not saying.
No, your argument is valid that it's a team game, no matter how great a quarterback is. If he doesn't have the right team, if he doesn't have a really good offensive line, if he doesn't have a running game, if he doesn't have the receivers to throw to, he's minimized. He can only do so much.
And I'm not saying you can wait to the 6th round, by the way.
No, every show, what do we discuss, Keith, when it comes to the NFL? You and I, we're discussing quarterbacks. We're discussing quarterback battles. You and I are not talking with the Cleveland Browns who's going to be the left tackle. We're not talking about, who's competing for the left defensive end position. We're not talking about who's going to be the starting safety on the Cleveland Browns. We're talking quarterback because it's so important, the most important position by far.
Well, you say it's a team game. I can make an argument that it is not the most important position because other guys have got to play well. Dan Marino never won. Why? He didn't have good enough guys around him.
First up, Dan Marino did win. He just didn't win the Super Bowl. No, but year after year, the Dolphins were consistently very good, and they were in the mix. They could just never finish things. Put that on Don Shula more so.
I'm not putting it on Dan Marino.
Dan Marino.
I'm not putting it on Dan Marino. I'm saying situation that he gets drafted into impacts the quarterback as well. Brady got drafted into a perfect situation. It may never become Tom Brady if he got drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know.
We don't know.
And I'm also not saying you can wait to the 6th round to find a quarterback because he's an aberration in that regard, right? The other guys I mentioned, most of them, if they weren't 1st-round picks, they were 2nd or 3rd at worst. So,
let's look at this year's NFL draft where certain quarterbacks went. Kate Klubnik went to the 4th round with the Jets. Smart move. They took a flyer on him.
Agreed.
Smart move to get Kate Klubnik, the Jets, the Clemson quarterback, in the 4th round. And the Jets could have drafted Ty Simpson. They could have, with the 2nd overall pick, hypothetically, they could have done that.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. Okay? And which I agree with 100%, by the way. But sometimes you do get guys in the 4th round. You take a chance on them, and they turn out to be really good. The way Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins were as 4th-round draft picks. I get all that. You could get your quarterback of the future later in the draft, but you can't count on. You have less of a chance of getting your quarterback of the future if you wait, as opposed to getting them at the top of the draft. Now, drafts are different. Just because someone is the best quarterback in the draft, it doesn't mean they're going to be a good NFL quarterback because they're only the best available that year.
All right.
It doesn't mean that they're good. Like Fernando Mendoza. If Fernando Mendoza was coming out next year, okay, with the top-heavy quarterback class, we don't know where he would be picked in that draft. Would he be the number 1 overall still? Or would he be maybe the 5th or 6th guy taken? I don't know.
Thank you, Jack. Rick, I actually thought about that. I forgot Montana was a 3rd-round pick. I didn't even count him. That's 14.
Yeah, but what happens if some teams have no choice but to wait and pick a quarterback then, because they're picking low in the draft. So they're not going to have the option of picking one of the elite college quarterbacks. So they get a guy in the 3rd round and maybe he works out. It doesn't mean that they waited deliberately. They wouldn't have waited till the 3rd round, but they had no choice but to wait for the 3rd round. And then they looked at a guy like Montana, and why he lasted to the 3rd round is beyond me. With what he did at Notre Dame. I mean, it made no sense to me at all.
Well, they didn't think he had the size or the arm strength. So that's why, he was discounted. Listen, I'll tell you that my only point is, and again, I understand if you've got a Peyton Manning, you have to take a Peyton Manning. But there's a lot more Ryan Leafs than there are Peyton Mannings. And remember, that was a big debate who was going to go number 1.
Yeah.
Imagine if you took the wrong guy. Well, the
But also, the other fact is that Ryan Leaf had Peyton Manning's maturity. You'd have to think he would have had a good NFL career because he had the physical tools. So
the world's full of ifs.
Yeah, of course.
But there are more Ryan Leafs than there are Peyton Mannings.
Getting back with the Raiders, there's always the next factor involved in their quarterback battle. There's Aiden O'Connell in there. Now, it's a tricky situation because O'Connell's not a bad quarterback. He's got some promise.
He started.
But if you start him, who's your primary backup? Now, it's one thing to make Mendoza the backup, but to make him 3rd string, I don't know. But then again, Mendoza's got to play when he's ready. You cannot play Mendoza based on what goes on with Cousins. Let's say Cousins gets hurt the first, the second game. Don't tell me you're going to put Mendoza in all of a sudden to play.
No, that's why he should be the backup, Jack.
Right, I can understand you making him third string based on that. I can understand, but Mendoza will have to understand, look, we drafted you first overall to be our quarterback of the future. So we just want you to learn, take things in. But what happens if Aiden O'Connell plays well? Then, well, I mean, what are you going to do? He's still, yeah.
Play him. What's the difference? Just play him until Mendoza's ready. That's all.
Yeah, but what happened? But even if Mendoza's ready, if the guy ahead of him is playing really, really well.
Well, if he turns into Joe Montana, then you don't play Mendoza ever. I mean, that's not a bad problem to have. I mean, that's a good problem to have, I guess. But
yeah, I suppose. But you have to have a plan when you pick a quarterback number 1 overall in the draft. It's unlike any other position. Now, consider this, Keith. Quarterback is the only position in the NFL where you want a guy to sit and learn and get seasoning and be ready. You don't have that with any other position.
We do it with offensive linemen from time to time.
You're not allowing a running back to play for half the year, full season. You want him to learn and be mentored by another running back or wide receiver.
I get it.
Or an offensive lineman.
It's more there are certain positions. Sometimes wide receivers have to set a little bit. Sometimes offensive linemen have to set a little bit. And to Danny's point here about all the positions, it would take me forever to figure this out. I'll figure this out someday, Danny.
Certain teams can ruin quarterbacks, and if not ruin them, I mean certainly hamper their growth. It depends on the situation. Sam Darnold is a somewhat good example. Look, he was a Jets starter. The Jets aren't known for developing quarterbacks. So he had a checkered career with the Jets. But the Jets finally, the Jets may have stuck with Sam Darnold. This is what people forget. If the Jets weren't picking number 2 overall in the draft, they might not have ever moved on from Sam Darnold, but they had an opportunity to draft Zach Wilson, and they were
they also screwed up
Zach Wilson based on the stupid combines, because he showed while he was on the run how great he could throw across his body. So based on that stupidity of the combines, they drafted Zach Wilson number 2 overall, and they moved on from Sam Darnold. But in all fairness, Sam Darnold was given the starting quarterback job at Carolina for the Panthers, and he didn't hold on to it. But the Panthers are not known for developing quarterbacks. It's been a fiasco with them, with that franchise.
Well, so are the Jets, and the Jets theoretically screwed up Zach Wilson too, as well. So maybe we'll never know how good Zach Wilson could be.
I don't think so. I don't think they screwed Zach Wilson up, and I'm going to tell you why. Zach Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton had a bit of a vendetta against the Jets, and he wanted to develop Zach Wilson to stick it to the Jets. He couldn't quite develop Zach Wilson, so he moved on from him, and now Zach Wilson is with the New Orleans Saints battling Spencer Rattler for the backup job, which I think Rattler is going to win out on that and be second string. Wow. I think Zach Wilson will be third string.
My argument would be that his confidence was 100% destroyed in New York, and it's going to be a long time before he gets rehabilitated, if at all.
He played poorly. Listen, they had him behind Aaron Rodgers when they got Rodgers.
Jack, they threw him to the Wolves in his rookie year. He wasn't ready to play, and the team was terrible. They should never have played him. Never have played him.
Some guys aren't that good, no matter how you try to develop them, play them, or whatever. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and everybody does look good in shirts and a T-shirt for sure.
Exactly. Rick.
I don't disagree with that premise.
Like in boxing, everybody looks good hitting the bag. You walk into a gym, see a guy hit the heavy bag. Oh, he looks like a good fighter.
Part of my quarterback argument is always I truly believe there's been great quarterbacks that never or guys who could have been great quarterbacks who never got the chance because of where they ended up playing in the wrong system for the wrong coaches. where their confidence was destroyed. It's happened to a lot. Look what happened to Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett did come back, but it took about 6 years before he was rehabilitated after getting the crap beat out of him in New England. He had to sit on the bench for nearly 3 years before he got another chance in Oakland, only by dumb luck. So it happens. Let me go back real quick before we move on from the quarterbacks. So Michael Gott, our number one fan in the UK, had asked if Josh Allen was Dan Marino 2.0. We don't know yet because his career's not over. So I don't think it's fair to judge it.
Just closing, they're going to be great quarterbacks who are playing today who are never going to win a Super Bowl in all probability. Josh Allen might be one. Joe Burrow might be one. Lamar Jackson might be one. You get these young crop of quarterbacks like Caleb Williams. He has a lot of years to do it. He might be one.
It's unfair to say it today, though, I think, because their career is only half over. So, but it's possible. It's possible. Let's move on to a little bit of baseball. I guess the biggest news here locally is that Corey Bellinger got healthy finally and actually got a base hit yesterday. No rehab assignment for Corey Bellinger, interesting enough. Gets thrown right into the lineup. The Yankees win 3 games back of the Rays after beating Toronto 2 out of 3. Really a big series when you think about it, even though the Jays are under 500. It was kind of a big series in the wild card race. The Yankees playing decent baseball, and the kids right now, Spencer Jones and maybe more so Lombard, are giving them a nice boost of energy, and we'll see if that lasts through September.
Well, the Yankees have the 5th best overall record in baseball. Not bad. And you get the feeling with the Yankees, the worst is over. They've kind of weathered the storm, and they're close enough to the Rays to catch them. And I think that's where all the energy goes into winning the division, not because of the pride of winning the division. I don't think that's important. I think it's to get the bye in the playoffs. So every move of the Yankees is going to be designed towards catching the Rays. It's imperative. They're 3 games out. I got to give the Rays credit. They haven't gone away. I remember telling you early in the season when you were worried about the Rays and all, I say, relax. By July, August, the Yankees will pass them and put them in the rearview mirror. We're late in August. The Yankees have what? They have like 1 week to make up the 3+ games to make what I said a reality. But at the end of the day, as long as they catch the Rays before the season ends, but it's going to get to the point where they're going to run out of games. I know they got 4 games with the Rays left. So, but you got to concentrate on the other games. Take it 1 game at a time as it goes along. No slumps at all. I think they'll be okay. I think everything could come into place. Because if the Yankee pitching staff is healthy going into the playoffs and Rondon came back as a 4th starter, they got excellent pitching staff, excellent starting staff, one of the best in baseball, and their bullpen has been really good. Even though it worries me a little time with those names that they're going to hold up, but they've been really, really good.
Bednar's been pretty steady.
They have. Tremendous depth on that team. All the players they could throw out at the various positions. But listen, at the end of the day, to make their mark in the playoffs, they need the big guy, Aaron Judge, back in form. If he is, the Yanks, I think, are going to the World Series.
What happened here? I was going to say I lost my train of thought because something flashed here. I don't know what happened.
Not about Aaron Boone getting fired.
No. Look at it. All in all, Aaron Boone hasn't done a bad job this year with all the injuries and whatnot. He's done a pretty good job. So I really got nothing bad to say.
You're giving him credit. You're giving Aaron Boone a little credit this season.
Well, yeah, more.
What about Brian Cashman too? I mean, they've been doing it.
It's passive credit, but yes, a little bit. Not Brian
Cashman. Because I don't giving Boone and Cashman credit, but begrudgingly.
You think this team is deep. I don't think it's deep, quite frankly, looking at the way this lineup has struggled to score runs for 3 months, basically, while Judge has been gone.
The GM can only do so much.
Depth, you can't say you're deep if the guys you put in don't perform. I mean, you're not deep then. You got guys to put in.
You get the right players, but they got to do it on the field. Bottom line, that's all that matters. I mean, at the end of any team,
like the Yankees,
put them in a position to win.
Right.
Even Boone said it. He got exasperated a week and a half or so ago, saying, "We're not hitting. I don't want to hear about injuries. We can do better than we've been doing. The guys we have."
As great as the Yankee starters have been, their postseason fate is going to depend on what the lineup looks like that they can throw out there. They need a healthy Aaron Judge, or an almost healthy, because I don't think he's going to be 100% no matter what. And I do think that Lombard and Jones are going to come into play in this postseason. And if nothing else, we've got to look at the future. And I'm very happy to see a look at the future instead of throwing the same guys out there day after day. I like what they've done here. And listen, if Judge comes back and gets in this middle of the lineup, it doesn't matter. You said yesterday, if Stanton comes back, it doesn't matter because there's no place for him to play most likely anyway. If Judge is and Bellinger,
it's going to be hard to maneuver these guys, Once Bellinger's back, Judge comes back, you don't have a spot for Spencer Jones in the outfield.
Correct.
You don't. And the DH position is thin because if Ben Rice isn't going to catch, if he's going to play first base, you want Luis Garcia's bat in the lineup as a DH, don't you?
Yes, and it looks like Ben Rice isn't going to catch because if he was, he'd been catching by now.
He'll do it once in a while. He won't in the playoffs.
He won't in the playoffs. They're going to want the defense in there in the playoffs. He won't catch. Mark my words. He won't catch in the playoffs. Unless he starts playing more in September.
I kind of agree with you, Keith.
So, again, everything hinges on Judge. I mean, this whole lineup. If Judge and Bellinger were still hurt in October, then Stanton could be useful, right? But it's a lot of ifs.
You don't know if Stanton's going to be back at this point. And listen, if Stanton came off the injured list at some point next month, obviously as soon after he came off, Boone would give him a game. Stanton hits a home run in that game. He gets another game or two, and then they see what Stanton does. And if by some chance Stanton is in an absolute groove and he's the Stanton we know, obviously they're going to play him. They're not going to sit him. And someone's going to, wow, what a problem. Luis Garcia can play second base. He's been a second baseman. But are you really going to sit Chaz? Once in a while you might, but it's sticky. Like
his defense is too good.
It's a good problem to have if it could work out. But
I think if you had to manipulate the lineup for some reason, injuries or late game because you've made other position moves and you had to play Garcia for a short period at second base, fine. But Jazz, as much as he struggled to play, is still a really good defender at second base, so I don't want to give up that defense.
And you like him on the base paths as well.
I do like him on the base paths. And unfortunately, I think Jazz's personality and his lack of performance will probably dictate him leaving New York after the season, I think.
Well, that's why I think with Anthony Volpe, he comes up. I think he'll play a little bit, not a lot, a little bit second base for the Yankees the remainder of the season. They'll see where they could maybe squeeze him in once in a while.
Yeah, I think that'll happen too. Look, he's a good guy to have.
The Yankees next season, Lombard at short, Volpe at second. That might be the plan.
Yeah, and Volpe will be a good guy, maybe even for the postseason run if they decide to keep him on the postseason roster as a late inning pinch runner or whatnot.
Exactly.
Because there's some guys in that lineup who can't run.
Yeah, Volpe can run. Yeah, he'll have some value. Yeah.
Danny brings up the fact the AOS is horrible. The Astros lead that one game under 500. The American League is terrible in general. There's 4 teams over 500. 4 teams.
Well, Keith.
And I'm telling you, somebody's getting in under 500
to win the World Series. So I don't want to see how bad it is. That's parody, guys.
As Danny said, the Mariners are mailing it in now.
Well, listen. The Mariners might yet win the division and go to the World Series. You never know.
That team is now mailing it in. They got beat 19-2 yesterday, and they lost this weekend series. They're terrible. They're not winning anything.
What John Sterling once said. He said that many years ago when the Yankees were down 3-0 against the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series, the Yankees got swept, but he said he doesn't think the Yankees aren't going to give up because baseball is a very selfish game. Everyone who has a bat in their hand, your team could be losing 19-2. You're not mailing it in. You're going to want to get a hit.
Right.
Okay? Every hitter's going to want to get a hit every time up. Every pitcher's going to want to get a batter out every time he pitches because they have stats that mean something to him. Now, a player might not die for a ball if his team is far down. He might not try to hustle extra hard. I get all that, of course. But it's a selfish enough game where you could beat another team by just trying to hit, make basic catches, and pitchers trying to get guys out. That's why a team with a lot of motivation sometimes loses to teams with no motivation because baseball is a selfish game.
There's nobody besides the Yankees, Rays, or Red Sox who's getting to the World Series in the American League. No, those teams they've said 5 months to show something. They've showed nothing. None of them, including the Mariners, who by the way, I picked to get to the World.
The Yankees are getting there, but I'm not discounting the chances of a number of other teams. Well, the Baltimore Orioles start putting it together. Gunnar Henderson.
They're not going to win the World Series.
He hasn't been good this year.
They're not going to the World Series. None of those teams are going to the World Series. They're not. They just aren't.
Listen, I agree with you, but I'm not discounting anyone.
They can't win 3 series, is my point. We brought up the Mets yesterday, right? In '73, they only had to win 1 series to get to the World Series, not 3. So.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Right. And by the way, I picked the Mariners to get to the World Series, not win the World Series. I had them losing to the Dodgers. The Dodgers, who, by the way, are back on top, or back playing well.
You did have them losing to the Dodgers?
Yes, I had them losing to the Dodgers.
I thought you had them beating the Dodgers.
No, I had them winning 2 in a row.
The Dodgers. Are you sure, Keith?
I'm 100%.
Videotape.
I'm pretty sure. I'll check it out. I don't have my list in front of me, but I'll check it out. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I picked the Dodgers to win 3 in a row.
Dodgers in the World Series. But listen, we could look back on our predictions, and we should do that at the end of the season. Let me take
we'll do that.
I actually have my predictions over here.
I have mine somewhere.
There's some good picks, bad picks. Listen, I picked the Rays to come in last place. I'm looking now. I had the Yankees winning the division. I had the Red Sox as a wild card. I
had the Rays in last place, too. I had the Orioles in the playoffs.
Seattle winning their division. I had Houston as a wild card.
I didn't.
That might, who knows with that division. They still got to play it out.
I had the Royals as a wild card, so that didn't work out.
Red Sox in last place. You had them winning the division. You're better than I was. I had the Royals as a wild card, and it's not happening. Listen, bad picks here. I had the Mets winning the division and the Phillies second as a wild card.
A bad pick.
The Phillies are going to be a wild card if not catch the Braves and win the division. I had the Braves as a wild card. I had both the Braves and Phillies going to the playoffs, and that's what's going to happen. Listen, in the National League Central, I had the Reds winning the division. That's not happening.
I picked them last, and that's where they are.
Yeah, I had the Dodgers winning the division. And I had the Padres second as a wild card, and that's going to happen in all probability.
Yeah, I had the Giants getting a wild card there, and that was probably my worst pick.
My worst pick of the season was the Mets going to the National League Championship Series. I mean, that, turned out to be horrendous.
Then he did remember me picking the Dodgers.
Okay, I picked the Dodgers over the Yankees in 6 games. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. Thanks, Danny, for filling us in on that.
Good stuff there. Anyway, the pennant race. I did it again, the pennant races. But it's still a pennant. You still win a pennant when you get to the World Series.
What pennant? No, people don't even know what a pennant looks like.
I know it. I got a pennant. Look, I got a pennant right up there in the corner, for crying out loud. I still know pennants. One thing on baseball too, to a much lower level, Little League World Series is in full motion right now in Williamsport. The international teams are playing, and the U.S. teams are playing off to get to the final. Now, one thing that's come up is betonline.com. Betonline.com is one of the like DraftKings. It's a betting site. And they have posted Little League World Series games for wagering. Should we really be? I mean, it's bad enough. We maybe not bad enough. Look, I'm not a prude. I gamble on college and pro football. I'm not going to place a bet on a 12-year-old kid. And
I don't like it, Keith. No, these are minors at the end of the day. These are minors. I don't want to see bets on that. I find it very distasteful. I really do.
And by the way, we've seen some scandals. We've seen some scandals on the college level of in baseball and basketball and even in football of point shaving and unscrupulous behavior. We've seen some unscrupulous managers of these Little League World Series teams. These guys aren't all upstanding citizens. Sorry about that. These guys aren't all upstanding citizens that are leading these kids into Williamsport. One of these guys could make a big bet and manipulate the outcome of a game. And I don't think that would necessarily be the norm, but listen, one guy who needs to make a quick $100,000 or something, you can't put it outside the realm of possibility.
Can you imagine we hear about a scandal that one of the top Little League pitchers in the big game, he got lit up, pitched terribly, and we found out his father bet on the game against his team? I mean, we don't need that. I mean,
no,
these are kids or whatever. They're impressionable. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I agree with you.
And CA wants to know the text. First of all, I don't know my picks yet. We're going to do our picks probably on the Sunday show here in a week or maybe next week. I don't know when it is. Brian will let us know. So we'll have our picks there and we'll kind of rehash them here a little bit. CA, but I can tell you I'm not picking the Texans to get to the Super Bowl. I can tell you that. Right?
I mean, CJ Stroud would be a determining factor. They certainly got the defense to go. Great defense.
Offensive line.
D'Amico Ryans. CJ, what's the real CJ Stroud? Is he if he's the type of quarterback he was last year, especially the way he performed in the playoffs? They're not going to the Super Bowl. You could forget
that offensive line.
How good their defense is. He's got to be better than he was last year.
Defense will have to score 2 touchdowns a game. Jack, give us some boxing news. I know we had a championship fight this weekend.
Yeah, Teofimo Lopez, he beat Raleigh Romero. Now, there's a possibility Teofimo Lopez, the fighter, is going to be on the show with Frank and myself, Glove Fist, tonight. But
cool.
I'm not counting on it. I got in touch with his dad, who's his trainer, Teofimo Sr., who has been a guest on our show. And I put down, can your son come on the show, Glove Fist, Monday night? And he texted me back very late into the night. I saw it this morning. He put down, I don't see why not, but we haven't made arrangements. And his son is a grown man. His son might be off, I don't know, to where tonight. So we're going to see if we can somehow get it together. Not an easy thing to do on short notice. The father and the son are good guys. They'll be very accommodating if you can track them down. They're not easy like you to track down, Keith. I mean, I know you like to play hard to get at times, but I can track you down and have communication. So the communication might not be so easy during the course of the day.
Well, we'll cross our fingers.
There's a possibility Teofimo Lopez comes on. He beat Raleigh Romero, majority decision. Frank and myself have to talk about the judges. Some of the judging in boxing has got to be so bad, and it's such an injustice to some of the fighters. And I don't want to hear the talk, well, boxing's subjective. It's a matter of opinion. Of course, it's a matter of opinion, but we could have crazy opinions, that we shouldn't accept.
I'm not going to get into it today because we're out of time, but I've got a question about the future of officiating in boxing, and we'll get into it maybe next show. We'll talk about it a little bit. But great show today, Jack. Thank you. Check out Jack and Frank tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on Glove Fist, as you said. And Jack and I'll be back on Friday at 8 a.m. And I'll see you Wednesday with the college football holder. You guys have a great day, everybody. See you later.